This is Kingdom Kommerce, and today's episode starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of Kingdom Kommerce, where we do commerce the kingdom way. I'm one of your hosts, Cooper Peterson, joined by co-host Luke Reichpost. We call him the Red Rocket.
Zoom.
For obvious reasons.
My name now, I
and
accept it.
the one and only Travis Smith.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for
Excited to be
coming.
here. Absolutely.
Part 2. If you haven't watched Part 1, we highly recommend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's been a blast getting to know you this past 2 hours.
Yeah, it's been
so
fun,
much
man. I've been riding the rocket to the moon, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this time we're going to be, we've heard Travis's background in the last episode. This time we're going to get into more of the practical advice. Kind of putting yourself in the seat of when you were in college, or thinking about Luke and I, who are college students, the advice that you would give them. And so I want to start off by asking, looking back at your college experience, what would you recommend to those in our audience? What are the practical steps they can take to get ahead?
Sure.
Are there classes or skills or something that you've found that you've had to learn or really benefited from in your experience as a business owner? What can prepare you for that?
Absolutely. Dude, there's just so much stuff, man. But I'll try to keep the list small because you want to make it actionable, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I would say the most important thing is networking.
Okay.
So one of the cool things about being on campus is that you guys have a built-in network, built-in professionals that are incentivized to help you. So networking with your professors, administrators, shouts out to career services, Mr. Reap, I call him
Yes,
Coach
sir.
Reap. That's my man. He's been super instrumental just in my life and helping me out with things and just growing as a man. But good dude. But I would recommend people, networking with those folks because number one, like I said, they're incentivized to help you.
Yeah.
Number two, they have connections and a network that you normally wouldn't have access to. It'd be tough to get access to that type of network once you leave. So you want to build those relationships while you're here. Not just with the administrators and teachers and stuff like that, which I think is super important, but also with other students because, like you were talking about, Rocket, it's your dad does real estate, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a aspiring real estate developer, you want to learn more about it. If you become friends with you, that's an end for them to learn more about real estate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Becoming friends with, networking with you. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that, man. You don't know who you're sitting next to. Many times. I remember when I was in school, the son of the CEO of Kellogg went here.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah. And
cool.
I forget his name, but last name's not Kellogg, obviously. but
Maybe I
he's-
have to Google that later.
yeah, I have to Google it later. But yeah, he went to school here, and his dad came and spoke
Wow.
to the business department probably a couple of times while I was here. But it's just stuff like that, bro. You know what I mean? You just those opportunities are really cool. But again, I think that's number one, networking and trying to find a mentor. I was blessed to find a few mentors while I was here, and that's kind of how you keep a connection with the school. And once you graduate, you'll still be able to lean on those folks and lean on those networks. So if I need to, find somebody that, hey, do you know anybody in the manufacturing space or whatever? You can ask them oh yeah, let me connect you with such and such. Where
awesome.
if you wanted to be with that company, you couldn't make that cold call. I mean, you could, but you're going to get shut down by the receptionist.
Right.
Yeah.
When somebody at Cedarville could have got you right to the CEO. You know what I mean? And they were like, yeah, let's do coffee because they know who you know. So that type of stuff is important. Mentor, networking, and things like that.
So you've been out of school for a few years now. as we
Stop
know.
reminding me, bro. How you keep doing that?
How have
Team
you kept in
16.
touch with these people and these connections that you've built? I know that's a struggle for some people. It can
Yeah.
definitely be a struggle for me at sometimes.
Mhm.
But what has worked for you in that?
Just keeping in touch with folks.
Yeah, and just making sure that you still have that relationship there, and you're not just I made that connection. I was friends with you once, and it's just gonna sit.
That's real. It's funny. I call myself an extroverted introvert. I actually enjoy being by myself and just head down doing stuff.
Mhm.
But I have fun doing this type of stuff. Talking to people, hanging out. So it's kind of natural to me to keep in touch. Plus, I like learning
course.
other new stuff and things I don't know about. So I found it's just interesting talking to the professors when they get their background and things like that. It's like, even though maybe they might not have had a background and they maybe never owned a business, but like you say, it might have been the military, and that
Right.
type of stuff interests me. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, I want to learn more about that. Like, tell me about your military experience, and
Right.
and then you start gleaning just information and advice off of that type of stuff. So for me, it was more of a natural. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't enjoy meeting people and talking to people, then it'd probably be tough.
Yeah.
But since I enjoy it, it was like just natural, and that's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably a right way to approach a mentor, a potential mentor. Like, if someone were to approach you for mentorship, what is kind of, your time is valuable, right? So what is something that would make them appealing or worthwhile to invest in? Like, what's kind of the posture that a mentee should take in asking for mentorship or getting to know somebody in that networking strategy?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So of course, like, you would say, hey man, let me treat you to coffee or lunch or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And you gotta pay for the coffee. Right? It's like, yeah.
Small price to pay.
Small price to pay, right? It's like, come on, bro, you gonna make me pay for the coffee? But seriously, like, number one is just saying, hey man, I'm a student. This is what I got going on. I would love to meet with you and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Pick your brain, right? And once you meet the mentee or the mentor, is going to give them some type of advice, right? So it's going to say, all right, well, here's what I would do. If you don't go and actually execute on some of those steps that the person's telling you, they're not going to want to waste their time with like continuing to be your mentor. If like, hey man, I gave you 2 things to do to help your business or whatever it was, and you really didn't follow through. So like, that would kind of disincentivize me to waste any more time with you, any longer. So I would say, like, initially it's just reaching out, right? Maybe every person you reach out to is going to want to meet, maybe.
Yeah.
But when you do get that meeting, making sure that when, number one, when you're in that meeting, taking notes, like, that just kind of shows that you're paying attention.
Yeah.
And number 2, making sure that whatever the advice they're giving you, maybe you don't do everything, but you do, some of those things. So when you ask for the follow-up meeting and say, hey, Mr. Smith, I did this, and this, here's what the results was. I wondered if I could jump on a call or we can meet again to discuss kind of what I saw when I did that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, bro, yeah, okay. Like, they actually did those things. Cool. Yeah, let's get it. So yeah, that's what I would say.
What would you say is like the number one skill that you could have learned in college, or that you wish you learned in college, that you think would have been really beneficial as an entrepreneur? Like, I think of like maybe like presenter skills or public speaking, or is there something that you wish you would have taken more time to invest in? Like, what's the number one skill?
Man, that's
You
another
already
good
got
one.
sales down as a door-to-door salesman.
true.
but-
True.
Yeah, well, you know what? My first sales class was here at Cedarville. It was an adjunct named Carl Bromer. He wrote a book called Natural Sales Concepts. I highly recommend it. But he was an adjunct, and he came in, and he's trained a ton of salespeople. He has his own training sales course or whatever, and he taught the class. But it really was just like going through his book and then role playing a lot of those sales tactics and things like that. And he always had a saying. He was like, "There's a million ways to do something, but there's only one best way." So he's always trying to show you that this is the best way to leave an email or send an email. Best way to leave a voicemail. Like, here's the best way to ask these questions. And he teach you, kind of like what an upfront close was. And he had another saying: "Ask for the pot of gold." You know what I mean? So he would do these types of things where it's like it kind of changed your mind on, number one, on like just how you interact with people in general. It makes you a better communicator in general when you learn those tactics, but also how to naturally sell, not come off as like weird, pressure salesperson. So that's one thing. I mean, learning how to sell, because I think it will help you in any career, because you always got to sell yourself to some degrry. I mean, Rocky, you got to sell yourself to your girl, bro. Like, you want to be in a relationship where you got to sell yourself to
Oh, I did. First time I actually talked to her, I was trying to get her to join the entrepreneurship org here at Cedarville that we like just started, Cooper and I, and I spent like an hour, and I finally got her to sign up because she was the involvement director.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, it would be so funny if we got the involvement director to sign up to the org.
He's like, I got her email now.
I got email now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you slid in right in the DMs, bro.
Yeah, I got her phone number,
Yeah.
texted her once, never texted back.
Oof.
Oh, I didn't text back.
Oh,
and then
what?
she
You ghosted her?
No, she slid into my DMs.
Hey, don't watch this,
And I
man. He was
responded.
ghosting you, bro.
How you doing, baby? Luke at cedarville.edu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, using his business stuff to kind of get it in on the personal side. All right, I get you. Yeah.
I think
Cloak and dagger.
Mr. Bromer still teaches sales here at Cedarville.
Does he?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, take his class if you get a chance to.
I'm going to try to do my last semester.
Yeah, or just talk to him. He's an open book, man, and he has a book, so kind of. If at minimum, buy the book. I still look at it to this day. But anyway, I think that's a big thing. But another number 1A, I suppose, is learn about the real estate market, the financial markets, like investing. You don't have to take a class to do that. Obviously, you could talk to people, or you could go online and study, get your real estate license, things like that. But no joke, man. Like, if there's one thing I could tell a person who's like still in college, it's never too early to start investing in real estate. I wish I would have known more about it when I was here at Cedarville.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I graduated in 2009. I don't know. I keep saying that.
16 years ago.
Yeah, 16 years ago, yeah.
Been a hot
Well,
second.
most of you weren't even alive. But had I known what I know now back
Mhm.
then, I would have put like every loose dime into the stock market or into real estate and things like that, because of what you obviously see, the values go up over time.
Mm.
And I still remember my senior year. We're talking about track,
Yeah.
and so you have nationals that is after the school year's over.
Right.
Yep.
So we're all staying in Lawler because we have
Yes,
to.
sir.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Flowers
your-
for life.
got your little per diem. Go down and get your food from mom and dad and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool because you ain't got classes. All you gotta do is practice and like just
It's a
chill.
fun week.
Yeah, it's a fun
Yeah.
week. One year though, I had May term, so it was kind of
Oh,
it sucked.
man.
I was like, I got to go to class and then I got practice. Like,
All your friends just hanging out. like-
yeah, man, it was horrible, man. But the good news is that the professor is kind of on summer break too, so he didn't really care that much about the class either. So he was like, turn it in whenever, bro. Like, it's okay.
Like, I'm done too. I'm
Yeah,
checked
like,
out.
Yeah, he show up with his like latte and whatever. But so May term wasn't that bad. But anyway, yeah. So like we were still still on campus, and one of my buddies was a finance major, and he had this book. We hang out whatever. And I walk in his dorm or whatever, and it was like a stock market book.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I ain't know nothing about like stocks or real estate. I ain't know nothing about nothing. So I was like, hey man, what you reading? He's like, oh yeah, it's about investing or whatever like that. I'm like, well, what is that? Investing in what? You know what I mean? And then he kind of started explaining. He was like, man, just here's the book, man. You can read it whenever you feel like it. Because he didn't freaking feel like telling me.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? I'm asking all these questions. So I start reading the book, and I'm just like, my eyes are just open. Like, wow, like you can make money, buying these shares in these companies and, this type of stuff. You put the money in, and then 5 years later, it grows to this. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, sweet. Like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I had this like cockamamie scheme, you know what I mean? I had to put together. No joke, man. So this is what I did. So I didn't pull the trigger. I wish in hindsight, I wish I did.
Oh.
But this was the plan I put together. I was like, okay, so this is 2009.
Mhm.
So like the car companies that crashed and
Yeah,
all the type of stuff. So one thing in the book was talking about finding undervalued companies, like good companies, but were undervalued. Like you want to buy them when they're down and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So my idea was to buy Ford stock. At the
Oh.
time, Ford was like trading at like $1.15.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, it was almost a penny stock. And so I was like, yo, Ford's a good company. It's been around for like, longer than me.
Yeah.
Like, this was like 100 years or whatever. So I was like, yo, I should buy some Ford stock. So I didn't have any money. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get a student loan. And if you're watching this, please don't do this. This is actually really risky. But I was like, I'm going to get a student loan for $5,000 and then I'll put it on Ford stock and it'll go up, whenever. So I got all the paperwork and I did all the, planning and stuff to do it. And literally before I like submitted it, I got cold feet.
Yeah.
I was just like,
That's risky.
it's risky, number one. And number two,
Mhm.
like $5,000 might as well have been 5 million
Yeah.
at the time. Like I didn't have no money. So
Yep.
Plus interest and everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Insane.
So I was just, plus the interest too. But of course, like 3 years later, Ford was trading like $10. So
What are you gonna do?
what are you going to do, man? but that FOMO moment kind of taught me. It was like, yo, investing's like legit, it's serious. Like you can make real money. And like kind of from there, it kind of sparked my interest in understanding how the markets work and stuff like that. So
there's safer ways to invest. And I may have been looking at your LinkedIn profile earlier, but you do some option stuff, right?
Cooper stocks a little bit, if you can't tell.
Stocks, the guy who does stocks, you know what I'm saying?
You go. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But like, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like it's a little bit different than, your logistics company. It's just like a different part of business. But you it said like you developed some sort of like a cheat sheet for like options.
Yeah. So so there's not to nerd out too much.
Yeah.
Oh no, we have to do another episode.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? It's punishment. Double overtime is what we call it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So no, we so I developed I don't really say I didn't develop it. Like I found this strategy and kind of tweaked it a little bit. But basically, it's an option strategy where you're selling options instead of buying them. It's called credit spreads. So you get it. So when you open the options position, you're basically buying one side, but you're selling another side on the same option, which then you receive a credit instead of a debit. Which a debit means it will cost you money.
Yeah.
A credit means they would pay you to open the trade, and then it's set up in a way that over time the option expires worthless. So you just hold it until like time goes by as you're making money it's called theta decay. And as it's decaying, you're collecting more premium or basically able to buy back your option for cheaper than what you got paid for. So if again, for instance, like if it gave me a credit of $1, then over time I could buy it back for like 50 cents. So that means I netted 50 cent gain, right? So what that company was called Credit Spread Cheat Sheet. So essentially it was like a service to help people find the best options to do that on.
Yep.
Most of those trades were done on the Russell 2000. It's an index of small cap or mid cap stocks. And so what I would do, we don't gotta go too deep, but what I would do is put credit spread options on the put side and on the call side, which is meaning above and below the price of what the Russell was trading at the time. And basically what that trade does is that you just want the index to stay within that range. So for instance, like if the Russell's trading at 50, I'll put an option on at 10 and an option on at 100. And my goal is between now and expiration, I want the market to stay within that range. It can go up and go down, just can't go up too much and can't go down too much. And as long as it does that, I make money. I get to collect the whole and keep that whole premium. That strategy is called an iron condor. And so I did that for a long time and would help people.
So is that a company you started? Or
Yeah.
Is it like, so.
Yeah.
So you started
3 companies?
businesses?
Well, you can, that service, I don't do that service anymore.
Okay,
So
okay.
I started that in, probably 2013, 14, something like that.
Wow.
And did it for a few years, had some
That's cool.
subscribers. And then just got too busy doing other stuff, honestly. And I just like shut it down.
Well, I didn't mean to take us on a huge tangent, but I do find that, no, seriously, I find that interesting. And I have some thoughts. Maybe we could talk about it later, but
Episode 3.
I think we should do another episode on that stuff because it's a whole different world of like, there's like, there's entrepreneurship and how you can, you need to grow your business, but there's also ways that you need to fund your future ventures. And it's like, how do you be smart with the money and steward
There you go.
the resources God's given you well? So
Absolutely.
maybe that's another episode sometime in the future.
Hey, man.
This
Good
might be a
after hours,
perfect
yeah.
segue back because you just mentioned technically a third business,
Huh?
but what have been some unforeseen challenges with being a Christian business owner, and like how have you overcome them in each of your ventures so far?
Sure. So just being an entrepreneur in general, and once you get a level of success, like you start getting, you get invited to stuff, you get, people want you to do things, and
Come talk.
Yeah, come talk. Exactly.
Hey, come to this podcast.
It's questionable
Promise
too.
you
Like,
could
where's it gonna be at? Like, in the basement of the library. I just like dox this. That's our location. Yeah. FBI comes
God
kicking
bleep that out
Yeah,
in
Make
post-production.
sure you edit that out, bro. So I'm gone before they show up. But no, so like, I mean, you have to say no to some things. Of course, you could be tempted to, come to this place with us or meet with us. It's like, nah, bro, I ain't gonna do that. One thing that a saying that actually my brother gave me this saying, and it has really stuck with me. It was called, it says, if it costs you a peace of mind, it costs you too much.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's
man,
great.
It's like,
That's really good.
that just hit me when he first got. I was like, man,
Yeah.
you're right. It's like, if you can't sleep at night, whatever you got going on, it's costing you too much, man. It ain't worth it.
Absolutely.
It's never worth the money. So so like that saying or advice has really stuck with me, and so I try not to do anything, and I don't do anything that's like compromising or cheating on my taxes or something like that.
Would you say that's been the most influential piece of advice you've received?
Um, it's up there. Yeah, that I can think of right now. Yeah, that was really good. I mean, I've gotten really good advice from a lot of different mentors, but that one has really stuck with me.
Congrats to Travis's brother. Apparently, you are a really good mentor. I know who to hit up after this.
Yeah. Shout out to Clark. That's my brother. Yeah.
Now you have like how many? You have 5 siblings?
Yeah, I'm the
five
youngest of
siblings?
6.
So are they entrepreneurs as well?
Yeah, man. So you gotten into it. Yeah. So basically, yes. Basically all of them. Like one of my sisters, I would think I mentioned earlier in one of the other episodes that she owns a makeup school. I don't know if she's still teaching now or not, but she does a lot of makeups for celebrities and stuff like that.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Her business is called Makeup Madness by Cherry.
Interesting.
Her
Cool.
name Nachera. You can look it up, bro. But Makeup Madness, and she's been featured on a ton of stuff. Like,
Wow.
she does about, if I said the names, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the people who she does. And I think right now she's working for doing stuff for Dish Network now.
Cool.
Yeah, but anyway, so like her, my other sister owns a restaurant in Miami.
Wow.
And she can cook, dude. If you're ever in Miami, yeah, let me know. Fort Lauderdale.
So this summer, I hear we're going to Travis's sister's restaurant. To get
Yeah,
some
bro.
Dude, that'd be hype.
It's a barbecue spot. It's really good.
That's awesome.
It's very good. And obviously I own a business, and my brother Clark, he's in logistics as well.
Wow.
So he has his truck, and he's running loads all over the country. So we
That's
all kind of
awesome.
got a little bit entrepreneurial bug in us.
Yeah. Do you think that was part of how you grew up, or do you think it was just like kind of innate in you to like want to start a business, or like what do you think inspired you and your siblings to take? I mean, because it's a risk, it's a risk to
For
start a
sure.
business. It's not sometimes the natural thing for most people. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risk being broke too, right? Like
True.
Yeah.
True. That's what Jim Stevenson, if you guys watch that episode, he's like, there's a risk. There's not really job security because you could be working in corporate America. There's people 3 floors up making your decision if you're going to be an employee or not. So
exactly.
I think there's kind of that misconception where
All the things that scares me.
job security is
Uh-huh.
like, look, someone else is in control of your work or not.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, that's real, bro. Like, I mean, somebody can wake up on the wrong side of the bed and just be like, you know what, we're gonna slash this part of the budget, and there goes your job.
Yeah.
You know, not to say, I mean, it's nice to be able to just show up and get a paycheck. You know what I mean? But, there's no such thing as job security, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like we grew up, like I think I mentioned this before, where our mom was a business professor,
Right.
and we did like entrepreneurial things. My dad actually was a truck driver too, which is so funny, bro, because he was a cop before he was a truck driver. And
Everything find its way back.
yeah, no, me and my brother, we talk about it. It was like how is it that we end up in logistics, bro? Like that
That's
doesn't
crazy.
even like. And I remember growing up, my dad used to want my brother to get in logistics, and he didn't want to do. He was a barber and stuff
He's like,
that.
that's the one thing I don't want to touch.
Yeah, seriously. He was like, no, I don't like going on the road. I like staying home. I like being like in in our hometown and stuff like that. And then get older, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna start trucking.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, I want to find the secret sauce because I mean, I hope to have kids someday, and I want them to be inspired to be entrepreneurs. And it's like, is it something I can teach them, or is it something that they kind of have to figure out on their own? I imagine it's probably a little bit of both.
yeah, probably a little bit of both. I mean, you can be an entrepreneur inside of a company too,
True.
right? You know, what I mean,
Entrepreneur.
yeah, an entrepreneur. There you go. Depending on what kind of flexibility you have and things like that. I mean, so this just because you're got a job, quote unquote, doesn't mean you can't flex your entrepreneurial muscle.
True.
So there's always opportunities there. But as far as like kids, I mean, you want to obviously give them the tools
Absolutely.
for them to be able to make the decision. Like, look, man, I can't force you to do
True.
this or
True.
that, but here's what I've learned. Here's the paths. You pick which one you want to go down.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's their life.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mean this to say that entrepreneurship is the only and right way to do things, but
Yeah.
I think there's just a lot of value that comes from learning from your entrepreneurial mistakes, learning from your success,
Yeah.
and it just I'm attracted to it. I mean, my parents aren't really entrepreneurs, but I was attracted to it because of there's the ability to like create things and there's the opportunity to steward, and I found a lot of purpose. There's a lot of purpose in that.
I think
sure.
you also need to always have the desire to learn. Be like, how can I fix that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I do better in this situation or here or there or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's going to be a lot harder for you.
Yeah, constant improvements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
important.
I got another question for you. So this one's could be a little spicy, but
Oh,
Ooh, Cooper's about to scare us.
yeah.
so
Show me
I-
your DMs.
I feel like you know, there's a culture sometimes in Christianity of like
Mm.
just like the grace, like we need to forgive and have grace for other Christian business people because we're supposed to like love and forgive people, and I think it's kind of lowered the standard of work.
Mhm.
And so I think we need to awaken and just encourage Christians to be pursue excellence, and that in their stewardship of what God's given them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's the other side where they say like ambition is wrong, ambition is evil, like ambition to be rich, or the ambition to have impact is selfish. And it all comes back to stewardship for me. But I want to hear your thoughts. Like, is it wrong or right to have a godly ambition to make impact, and to is money wrong? Is it wrong to acquire lots of resources?
Sure.
And if it isn't wrong, then how do you manage that in a way where you're standing right before the Lord?
Sure. So the Bible talks about not money, but the love of money
Right.
is the root of all evil. You know what I mean? So it's when money has you instead of you having it,
Yeah.
is when it starts becoming a problem, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Because when Jesus told the rich young ruler to give up everything, I believe that when Jesus told him that, hey man, give up everything and then you can follow me, and he obviously didn't, and he just like left away sad.
Yeah.
I feel like Jesus was just testing. Was like, bro, I wasn't even gonna make you give it away anyway. I was gonna give it right back to you, but I just wanted to see where your heart was. It's kind of like how God tested Abraham with his son Isaac.
Right.
He was like, hey man, take him up to the mountain and kill him. But God wasn't gonna let him do it anyway. He just wanted to see where his heart was. Right before he hit the blow, he stopped him. You know what I mean? And I feel like it was a similar thing with the rich young ruler.
Yeah, maybe it was.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm inferring some things, but like,
right.
I believe that, because I mean, there's obviously examples of wealthy people in the Bible. Like Abraham was a
Right.
very wealthy person.
David and Solomon and
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's not the money. It's the fact that when it overtakes you, or when you find that that's your security is in that.
Right.
Because it becomes, you put that over God, and then now that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? But as far as ambition, no, I think it's being ambitious is just my own personal opinion, is part of being a good steward.
Right.
Because if God's giving you talent, energy, time, resources, you got to do something with it. You know what I mean? Like the parable of the talents is pretty clear in my opinion about that.
The one who risked it,
there you go,
who was able to get the reward, and who was praised for that.
He was given the one who didn't do anything.
Oh yeah.
Was
He
given
took his stuff
originally.
and gave it to the dude who already had more.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's motivation to like, almost like to not waste your life. Like, we're not saying like you need to be like foolish. You're not foolish in trying to gain wealth. You're not foolish in taking unnecessary risks. But it's like, how can we like before we're on our deathbed, or before something happens to us, like how do we make sure that we steward our time and our bodies and our resources in a way that we can actually like be well-worn tools
Absolutely.
by the time their life's over. And that's a motivating thought to me, is like, on my deathbed, am I gonna be satisfied with how I was able to use my body and time and everything for the Lord? So
and the gifts and talents that you've been given, be like, yes, God, I took advantage of the opportunities that came my way, and I was able to use the skills and gifts and talents that you gave me to further your kingdom and benefit my family and your children and your sheep.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like when you talk about ambition too, it's like you don't want to get to heaven and God's like, hey man, I gave you this opportunity here to touch more people, to be a blessing to other people, and you didn't do it because you thought that being ambitious was bad, or you were too nervous or too scared. I heard this quote, and I want to butcher it, but basically the concept was like everything is in your head.
Yeah.
Like you literally can do anything.
yeah.
Like, the only reason you're not doing it is in your head. And I heard this other quote. It was like, what would you do if you weren't afraid?
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
Isn't that good?
I feel like right now, well, at least where Luke and I are in our stage of our lives, is probably the best time to be potentially taking those risks, because it's like when God gives you a family, you have that family and you're responsible for them. And you know, if you mess up real bad, it's like, they're under your
These
care.
people that are depending on me.
Absolutely.
But
I
it's
have to
like
provide
right
for 'em.
now, it's like, start that trash company. It's like, I mean, you were my age when, you're 20, probably 23, 24.
23, yep.
Yeah, it's like you started that when you were basically, a college, almost just out of being a college kid. And it's like, take the risk when you're young and you have that opportunity. And that's what I'm trying to learn myself is like, don't be afraid. Now is the time. You do the market research, do your due diligence, but take action now. So that's probably what we want to leave that with our audience is like, if you talk to your mentors, like Joe said in previous episodes, do your market research like Scott says, but it's like, be ambitious.
Yeah.
God's given you a passion for a reason, or he's given you that skill set for a reason. So
sadly, we have to wrap up this episode. We have time briefly for one more question before we call it quits. I know this won't be the last time you're on.
No,
I hope it's not.
Anytime.
What is one important thing or principle that you'd like to leave with those listening today?
Honestly, man, I want to piggyback on what Cooper was just saying, man. Like, your youth is an advantage. Like, when you're older and you have kids and you got responsibilities, you can't take those risks because, like, think about it. If it doesn't work out right now, it's just you eating ramen. You know what I mean? You don't want to, your wife and kids are eating ramen too. That's a problem. Like, you know what I mean? So this is the perfect time when you're young. That number one, because of what I just said about the ramen. But number two is because older folks will look at you and see like, hey man, this is a young guy who's ambitious, who's trying to do something. They're not
like I saw myself in you.
Correct. Yeah. So like they're not trying to trick off their youth. They're trying to do something with it.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful to older people who are already successful, stuff like that.
Not that you're old or anything.
Not
Come back in a few years, then we can talk.
But real talk, like Jesse used to always give this example. He was like, so think about it, right? Like if you got this busy street, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of traffic, and then you see a puppy like trying to get across the road.
Yeah.
Like people stop. Oh my God! Stop the traffic! Stop! Everything. There's a puppy trying to get across. You know what I mean? They'll come pick it up. Somebody come pick up and help it around. Now have the same busy road, and you see this old scraggly dog.
People are trying to hit that.
Yeah, take it out. Yeah, kill it.
10 points.
Out of its misery.
Exactly. Like who let this stupid mangy dog out? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
So like it's really like when you're youthful, people want to help you. They want to see you successful. And so use that to your advantage. Use that to get to where you want to go because people want to see you succeed.
Awesome.
Well, thank you
so much. It's been great having you on, Travis.
Absolutely.
I've really enjoyed this time, and I can't wait for the next time we talk.
Man, it's been fun.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode, guys, of Kingdom Kommerce. If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. And you can, again, follow Travis and find him at t&elogistics.com and follow him on his LinkedIn. Again, that'll all be in the description down below. With that, we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Woo! That was awesome.
That was fire, dude. Yeah, that was fun. We got some good synergy there.